3 years ago this week, President Barack Obama won re-election with over 300 electoral votes. I was reviewing some of our notes from 3 years ago, and I was reminded of how confident the Romney campaign was. And ultimately, when I watched that Netflix documentary, Mitt, it's on Netflix, although it wasn't produced by Netflix, about Mitt Romney's campaign, he really believed those internal Republican polls that said, you've got this thing in the bag, you're going to win. He was really stunned when he not only lost to President Obama, but was absolutely crushed by President Obama. And not to pat myself on the back, because a lot of people had this right, my election prediction map was 100% accurate. And the reason I say not to pat myself on the back is all I did was look at an average of polls in each state and say, okay, in an average of polls, not only looking at the Republican polls, it looks like President Obama is going to win this particular state, and I would fill that state in blue on my map. And that was all it took. In other words, I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't have any lucky guesses. I merely went with the average of state polls, and I was 100% right in my election prediction. So it really just showed you the sort of insular and disconnected nature of the Romney administration back then. Now, as far as President Obama's second term is concerned, I think that within the boundaries of what we can realistically expect presidents to accomplish in a term, President Obama has done many good things. At the same time, we have been huge critics of President Obama when it comes to the things he has not been good on. This comes to the expansion of many of the ineffective surveillance techniques that were started under the Bush administration. This comes to everything dating back, many things dating back to the very beginning of President Obama's first term, closing Guantanamo Bay. This comes to the lack of prosecution of the Wall Street bankers who were very involved in destroying the economy. Although it didn't happen under President Obama, the lack of prosecution certainly did. And we could go on and on. This particular segment isn't about criticizing President Obama. We do plenty of that, but sort of contextualizing that for the pluses and minuses we can attribute to President Obama, much of what goes on during a president's presidency is not directly attributable to them. And in addition to that, let's not forget that a Romney administration would have been an utter abortion, and we should all be very much glad that ultimately that didn't happen. And now, as we get into the 2016 election more, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of, yeah, I have disagreements with Hillary Clinton. There are differences between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that, as political observers and as voters and engaged citizens, we should be thinking about and talking about. But in the end, what we all should want to avoid, if we are rational, clear-thinking people, is for a second thinking that any of the Republican candidates would be even remotely reasonable compared to any of the remaining Democratic candidates. Let's not miss the forest for the trees, please.